Pittsburgh Steelers fans, I think you just got exactly what you needed to see. And this is on full display in this last preseason game. And man, you should absolutely love this, because is it possible that you guys actually have a number 2 wide receiver? I think you just saw a breakout performance against the Tampa Bay Bucks in this last preseason game. Granted, it is the preseason, but what are you guys looking for in a wide receiver? You got to have crisp route running, right? You got to have really good speed and acceleration, like real-time, game-time acceleration. That's needed to create space, right? You got to have strong hands. You got to have a guy that high points the ball, especially in the end zone. But most importantly, a guy who has an absolute dog mentality. And call me crazy, but I think Roman Wilson, I think he absolutely broke out in this last preseason game. I think it's okay to get excited about it as well, by the way. Let's be fans. Fans, it should be fun to be a fan. Let's get excited about this, because I think he's showing that he is the guy who actually has what it takes to be the complement to DK Metcalf. And then you can have Calvin Austin, who really came into his own last year. He can work that number 3 receiving spot that he has done so well starting last year. I think it's time to get the hype train going here. So I'm going to be your captain here on this flight. And the Pittsburgh Steelers and you and me as an outsider here, I think we've all been looking for a game like this. It's been 18 months. This is a performance that the Steelers have been longing to see after they drafted him 2 years ago in the 3rd round, right? That's what happened. So going against the Bucks, he finally looked like the player who could be the answer. I mean, granted, this is the preseason. Let's chill a little bit. But I think this was a breakout contest, and it's kind of a continuation from this team practice that they held with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So Mason Rudolph and Skylar Thompson, they're looking like they really trusted him. They were throwing the ball to him consistently. He had 2 really nice catches for 72 yards in the first quarter. And this is a statement. Wilson, it comes at the absolute perfect time for your Pittsburgh Steelers. And this is during his second training camp with the team. So let's look at the whole camp, though. Let's be honest. He has looked inconsistent. He's looked varsity one day and JV the next. He's had really good days, and then he's had other days that he's been absolutely invisible. But against the Bucks, this looked different. And when it mattered, he came through. And that's exactly what Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin, I'm sure, what he took from this game. This is a second week in a row that Wilson has looked really crisp with his routes. He's shown his hands. He's shown his ability to get separation. And for the second game, granted the starters weren't playing, but for the second game in a row, he's looked like one of the best players on the team. And he snuck behind the defense twice and had a lot of space to throw him the ball. Rudolph, he threw a really nice pass along the sideline for a deep pass. A few minutes later, he was wide open. Thompson found him for his second chunk play of the quarter. And that's what the Steelers are looking for. Chunk plays. That's what's been missing. Metcalf, he's going to be an absolute stud. He's going to attract double coverage. You got to have a guy on the other side that's able to capitalize on that. And I think Roman Wilson, if this continues, you might have your wide receiver number 2. And that's coupled with still having Freiermuth. That's coupled with Yak Monster Jonnu Smith, right? That's why he's on the team. And the Steelers could end up with way less pressure on them if Roman Wilson can continue this. So no longer have to scramble, maybe even give up draft assets in addition to a bunch of money for a proven wide receiver 2. And also, there's not really a proven wide receiver 2 on the market. I think Terry McLaurin's going to end up signing with the Washington Commanders. I almost said Redskins. He is ramping up to start practicing. It looks like that ankle issue is no longer a problem. I think they'll get a contract done with him really, really quickly. And we also talked about Gabriel coming in for a visit one more time. Gabe Davis coming in. I can talk about that in just a minute, but I don't think he's really going to be the answer. And I'm not sure he's completely over his injury problems. But it looks like Roman Wilson very well could be the Steelers' number 2, their second starting receiver, against the New York Jets in week 1. And I cannot believe that game is only like 2 weeks away. Just absolutely unbelievable. So let's kind of look at those drives a little more specifically. And we'll also hear what quarterback Aaron Rodgers had to say about him. So let's kind of go back to the game against the Jacksonville Jaguars. He played just 2 drives, but in that time, in that game, he beat starting cornerback Tyson Campbell on a crossing route. He ended up with 2 receptions for 26 yards. It was a nice outing, but then on Saturday, he really carried that momentum forward. And this is really the absolutely nice thing about this and what prompted me to do this video. He absolutely dusted quarters coverage, and he was going up against Jamil Dean over the top. He hit a post route. That was for a 42-yard connection from Mason Rudolph, and then later on in the quarter, separated on a really nice crosser. It looked like the separation was done really easily. Once again, what this offense needs, chunk plays. A chunk gain of 30 yards on another reception. So those performances, I think it really affirms what Aaron Rodgers has said pretty consistently throughout training camp, throughout his time with the team. And man, if you can get Aaron Rodgers' trust, if you actually have Aaron Rodgers talking positively about you in the media, I think he might be in with him, because Aaron Rodgers, he has a history of throwing his wide receivers under the bus in the media, right? But let's kind of go to this. I think he's improving every day. This is from Aaron Rodgers. You saw the results, and he went out there. He made a couple splash plays, but we're going to coach him hard. He's a great talent, but that can make the difference. We're going to hold him to a standard of excellence. He's got a chance to be a big-time talent in the league. And Rodgers also talked about how he's been happy in the way that Wilson has responded to the challenges put forth to him from his starting quarterback, and also for from the coaching staff. And Aaron Rodgers is continuing to challenge him. He's continuing to pour pressure onto him. And if the result is what he did against the Bucs, granted, once again, it is the preseason. I'm not going crazy here. Easy, Sean. But he finished with those 2 receptions for 72 yards. And he also threw in some really nice blocks. And that's really important on this offense, especially when Aaron Rodgers is your quarterback. You got to keep him upright. And he ran with the first team out of 12 personnel for most of training camp. Now, the Steelers have given him a chance running as a top wide receiver opposite DK Metcalf when he wasn't playing. Calvin Austin wasn't playing, so he got first-team reps in this preseason game, and he's also been getting them in camp. And Rodgers, he previously said that he thought Wilson was a great talent. He just needed him to get out of his head and just play ball. So in the recent weeks, it looks like Wilson has really started to turn the corner, and it really looks like this preseason game is indicative of that happening. We have got to wait and see what happens in this 3rd preseason game. That's typically the dress rehearsal for the regular season as your Pittsburgh Steelers prepare for the New York Jets. And I cannot wait. You guys should be excited about this. It's okay to get excited about this. And I'm going to continue to be here on a daily basis giving you Pittsburgh Steelers news from an outsider's view. You guys have been awesome. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. It's a huge blessing. And I'll see you soon.